Hi guys, and welcome to Actualize. This is Dr. Casper, again here to bring you a new topic. As always, missing our host, Madam Glory, waiting for her to come out on break. But we are going to roll together, and today I have another topic. As always, I don't look at the questions. I just roll with whatever topic she sends me, and we get a good time. So again, today we're doing trusting the process. Wow. So if that sounds good to you, please stick with me as we get into this topic of trusting the process. What does it mean to trust the process? Okay. It's something that, that is, I think, developed, right? We always talk about trust the process. You hear people talk about it in sports and in other places. We have to realize it's a learned behavior. Why am I saying that? So that you don't feel bad about the fact that sometimes you've not trusted in the process. You see, first you have to realize you have to get enough training. You have to get enough knowledge. And the way to actually do this, I always say, is you do this because when you're a novice, right, when you've no training, somebody can tell you, hey, go 3 steps forward, 2 steps to the side, and you'll be able to hit your goal. But because you don't have enough knowledge, you're panicking, everything else, you just go straight to where you think you're supposed to go and you miss it, right? And so there's something about knowledge that has to do with trusting the process. Now, trust has to do with faith. To trust the process, you must have faith in the one who is giving you the knowledge. And so if you cannot trust the process, it means you don't have faith in your source. So the first step is, do you have faith in the source of your knowledge? That's really what trusting the process is. It means I actually trust where the information is coming from. Therefore, I know that that source is giving it for my future good. Okay? So that's question number 1. What does it mean to trust the process? All right, question number 2. How can you let go of the need for control and trust that everything will work out? This is difficult, and it becomes more difficult over time as you grow older. And the reason is because as you grow older, you have more experiences, and you have more experiences sometimes of people letting you down. You have more experiences of missing the mark. You have more experiences, and those experiences reinforce a negative attitude towards trusting. And so when you look at this question, right, how do I let go of the need to control? Well, you cannot let go of the need to control if you don't know that you are controlling. All right, think about that. Until you get to a point where you stop and realize, by the way, in these areas of my life, I'm trying to control the outcomes. Why? What is causing me to have a hard time letting go, and as I like to say, and letting God? What is causing me to want to manipulate, superimpose, right? And so I think that's really the first big question, right? You let go of control and you trust in the process at the point that you realize you have a problem with control. Right? And not only do we get negative experiences, but sometimes we have experiences that worked out in one season and we think they're going to work in this new season. So imagine you had one coach who told you this is how you should punch, maybe, or this is how you should move. And then you have a new coach who's supposed to elevate you and take you to the next level. Your last coach could only get you towards the elementary levels. The next coach is trying to get you to the elite level. So they're trying to break you down on everything you thought you knew to teach you how a pro thinks. But because you have this idea, I always call it, I forgot the exact word they call it, is when you have limited amount of information that makes you think you are a professor in the topic. So you talk with so much conviction, but you don't realize this is the depth of your knowledge. But yet, somebody who comes with this much depth of experiential knowledge, empirical, analytical information, and yet You are debating with them over this. That's where most of us find ourselves. That's why most of us are not successful in life. And so when you get to a point where you're honest with yourself and you say, you know what, actually, I'm just going to let go of my past preconceived ideas. Let me open myself to listen first, because this is what I always say. You cannot be a great teacher if you're not a great student. You cannot be a great student if you can't listen. And so letting go of control and listening to what's next normally will pay dividend in the future. Question number 3. How can you cultivate patience and trust when faced with uncertainty and delays? How can you cultivate patience and trust when faced with uncertainty and delays? Well, this is difficult. I'll tell you the simple truth. I've lost a lot in life by the lack of patience, because you get anxiety, panic, fear. I always say the people who are most patient win the negotiation. They win the war. They may, see, this is where I want you to change your mentality and think the way I perceive a war. Within a war, there are a series of battles that are fought in different places. If you are commanding this war, as you're sitting there, you cannot worry about battles lost. Although it's important to worry about battles, but you cannot spend your whole time focused only on individual battles. You must have a greater picture. Now, if you talk to one soldier who's a corporal on the ground, maybe a battle is the most important thing for them to focus on. But you got to think about the war. If you want to win a war, you must have patience, perseverance. And then you also need a lot of information to decode the probability of winning. So instead of pulling things out too fast, sometimes it's okay to let them, let it simmer for a little bit. So that's what I will say. You need to change your mindset from a short-term gainer to thinking in a long-term gain. I may not win every battle, but consistently, I'm going to win the war. All right? So how am I going to do this? I need to cultivate patience and trust, and that includes a lifetime of consistency, a lifetime of self-accountability, right? I always tell people, write down everything, examine yourself, and then always remind yourself things are going to get better, right? And also realize you're not the only one, right? Sometimes we feel like we're the only one squeezed. But let me tell you, when you remove the whole anxiety and fear aspect out of it, it'll teach you to be patient, okay? It'll teach you to realize that you can start over at any point in life. It will teach you don't make the wrong bet because you're afraid that, I have to do it now and today. And lastly, don't allow others to bring pressure into your life. I always say, your emergency doesn't necessarily need to be my emergency. All right? So patience is a virtue. Patience will save you a lot. What role does faith or spirituality play in trusting the process? All right. I mean, this is everything for me, right? I'm a man of faith. I believe in God. I'm saved by grace. Jesus Christ is my personal savior. And so faith plays a central role in process. The very idea of faith to me is the trust in the process. The Bible says all things work together for the good of those who trust in God. And the one thing about the character of God is he allows people to go through the process. I was listening to a minister by the name of Pastor Max Gachungu, and he brought up this verse where it says, these Israelites were leaving Egypt going towards Canaan. And they had actually a straight route. Straight from Egypt, you can go through Egypt, go through basically Philistia at that time, which is almost like Palestine, and then you're straight shot into Canaan, right? Very short, Maybe take you a few weeks, if that is, right? You cross over and you're in there. But it said they were unprepared for war. They were not ready to fight in wars and battles. So God rerouted them and had them go the long way of process. Well, I would use the same analogy in many of our lives. Many of us, we're not ready to enter that boxing match. We're not, even as a parent, you know about development maybe if you're a parent, or if you're a leader, you understand that the people under you need to grow. And it takes time, it takes mentorship, it takes training. And so faith and spirituality is one place that we can go back to and be like, you know what? I was created in the image of God, right? As the creed goes, all men are created equal and endowed by their Creator certain inalienable rights. And I would like to always add on that, and certain stations. We all have stations, gifts, and abilities. And it takes time for those gifts and abilities to manifest. Question number 5. How can you celebrate small wins and milestones while still trusting the process? And that's actually very important. If you want to, you have to celebrate. You have to celebrate. You have to have joy. You have to have times of laughter. Celebrate milestones, and it will help you get to the next milestone, right? And so I really recommend, if you haven't already, you need to take time to celebrate small wins, small victories. Those are the small battles I'm talking about that will lead you towards winning the war. So yeah, by all means, celebrate. Don't be in the habit of completely not celebrating the process, because you'll get the win and then you'll be like, but you feel empty because you never actually had any joy through the process. All right. What are some inspiring stories or examples? Question number 6. What are some inspiring stories or examples of people who have successfully trusted the process? All right. Let me give an example. I played American football in high school and in college. Now, in high school, it was all based on my physique, being taller than others, weighing, being fast. And so that easily got me to becoming a Kentucky North All-Star, got me a 4-year scholarship, all that good stuff, right? But when you get to college, it's different. Everybody is fast. Everybody is big. Everybody was an all-star wherever they came from. So your technical advantage is gone. And this is where now you have to trust the process. If you don't have a great coach, they will not mentor you, coach you through a process of development. But if you have a great coach, they will mentor you and train you through the process. One of the things that I learned when I was in college, when I was studying tape, looking at film, I used to want to look at defensive linemen. And one thing I learned is, in trusting the process, sometimes the defensive lineman coach will tell you to do something that was unnatural in human movement. For example, if you want to, like the people who used to be in front of me weigh like over 300 pounds, right? Those are offensive linemen. I'm on this other side. I'm supposed to find a way around this 300-pound person to go hit my target. They will tell you to run, to get off the line rather, throw your hips, and then go around the person like that. Now, I don't know, that's even if I explain to you, it will be impossible for an average person to do. It can look like it makes no sense. But the interesting thing is, I also did a course the same time on, I was doing Taekwondo. And one of the things I realized is, in Taekwondo, you'll also throw your hips on the side, be on the side of a person, so they're still looking this way, you're already here on their center, and you're able to take them down. And so, what is that? Unnatural movements. But the way you start in a snail pace. You are learning how to do this unnatural move. But what happens is, as you develop, your speed increases. Your speed increases. When you get in a game, or when you get into a fighting scenario, all of a sudden, it becomes automatic to who you are. Now that's what I want to close with. When you trust the process, the thing that used to be or is a natural or an ability that most people, the average person, will never be able to do, will become second nature to you. You'll be able to do things at the blink of an eye because you have allowed yourself to go through the training of the process. And so it doesn't matter what vocation or whatever you're doing in life. If you trust the process that God is getting you through, if you trust your a good coach, a good mentor, what will end up happening is that you will create habits of success will become your second nature and will reinforce more wins in battlefields, and eventually the war will be yours. Well, I hope this very interesting topic that I was sent. You all should thank Madam Glory for that. Those questions, I didn't know that was what I was going to talk about, trusting the process. I hope that has been a few moments of, growth and actualization. Let me know how you would handle the question of process and trusting the process. And what is your story of trusting the process? Or are you in the midst of learning how to trust the process? As always, please like, follow, and share with someone who needs to learn how to trust the process. This has been A Few Minutes with Dr. Casper. I will see you all next time. Bye-bye. All right. Okay. Let me move on to the next question. All right. So, trusting the process.
Welcome to Actualize Talks, your destination for purpose discovery, setting vision goals, and fostering leadership growth.
I'm joined in studio by Dr. Casper. Dr. Casper.
Joining me now in the studio, we have Dr. Casper.